All right, welcome everybody to the College Bound Capcom webcast. My name is Christopher Fasano, and today I am talking with Kim Donah. Now, Kim is a certified college funding specialist with Capcom Federal Credit Union. Now, for my own selfish reasons, I am very excited about this conversation today because I, like I'm sure many of you out there, have a child. My child is young, but I am already thinking about college and the whole process, and including how the heck we're going to pay for it, right? This is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, the college process, all aspects of the college planning process, from looking at schools, applying for colleges, and then, of course, figuring out how to pay for college. This process can be very overwhelming for students and for the parents involved. And I know just from the time that I have gone to college, which is farther away than I like to talk about nowadays, has drastically changed. So there's a lot to understand and a lot to know. So we have Kim to talk to us about that today. But before we dive into all of those topics, I want to welcome Kim to the webcast. Kim, welcome aboard. And why don't we start by, introducing yourself to the audience?
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to share some insights with you. You're right, the college application and funding process has changed incredibly, even in just the past 10 years. As you know, I'm a certified college funding specialist. I'm also a certified credit union financial counselor. I joined Capcom in 2004, and in those 16 years or so, I've helped more than 4,000 parents and students navigate the college-bound process.
Wow, 4,000 parents and students navigate the process. When should students and, families and parents, et cetera, when should they start planning for college?
They should actually start planning for college as a student enters high school, so in 9th grade. At that time, it's actually important for the family to have a conversation about preparing for college. Part of that conversation should be a discussion of college choices, college majors, students' interests and what they feel that they're strong in. And also another important part is the expense of college and to outline the expectations as a major family purchase. It's no different than purchasing a home or a car or anything else. It is an important purchase for a family. To give you an example, the SUNY schools right now in New York State over a 4-year period will cost $100,000. The private schools throughout the United States average between $50,000 a year up to and including $80,000 a year. So it can be a very expensive prospect for families as they're budgeting and looking at what makes sense to attend.
So the takeaway there is you gotta think about it early on, right? The beginning stages, the kid gets right. They get into high school. It doesn't have to be too detailed at that point, but I imagine now there's a timeline. You establish a timeline, and hopefully you follow along on that timeline, right? So let's talk about what that timeline looks like. Let's talk about some of the major steps and sort of when they occur.
Okay, sure. The timeline really runs from your freshman year through your senior year, and they look quite different every year. So in your freshman year, it's as simple as making sure you are having your core courses that are required of English, history, science, math, and a foreign language, and to pick the right mix of courses. You also want to get involved as students with extracurricular activities and groups. You need to keep a portfolio of accomplishments, recognition letters, and awards, and to start exploring possible careers based on your interest. You want to look at college information in the guidance office in high school also. In your sophomore year, you want to take your PSAT, which is your Practice Scholastic Assessment Test, and your ACT, the American College Test, Plan Assessment. You want to stay on track with your core courses and prep courses, and you want to get familiar with general college entrance requirements. It's also important to meet with your guidance counselor to discuss college planning and preparation.
Kim, I'm sorry. Can I ask a question? You mentioned the ACT and the PSAT, and maybe you'll talk about this in a little bit, so I'm sorry if I'm getting ahead. Does everyone have to take the ACT? Is it just recommended that you prepare for it, or is it a specific student or college or major or sort of career choice that would apply for that?
It's not required that you take the SAT or the ACT, and some colleges are SAT and ACT preferred, and other colleges don't require it at all, but students will send it along. I would say that the Ivy League colleges and what are considered mini Ivies, there are 8 Ivy League colleges in the United States, and there are 25 mini Ivies, and we actually have 2 of the mini Ivies in the Albany region, which is RPI and Union. Those colleges like to see SAT and ACT scores. I believe as time goes on, that may become something that is not as required or looked at as it is now, but it has been up until this point. Generally, math and science majors tend to be the ones that look at this the most.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
So in your junior year, this is when it starts to get serious, where you really are putting yourself on track to be prepared to apply for college at the very beginning of your senior year. So in your junior year, you want to, at this point, evaluate career and educational options based on your academic strengths and interests. You want to attend college fairs and use online college information search engines like Naviance and College Board. You should schedule at this point your SATs, your ACTs, and your SAT subject tests and AP exams. You would like to, at this point, look at the organization of your college information and start scheduling college visits during the spring of your junior year. You want to continue the family discussion about colleges you are interested in and the affordability of that college for the family and for the student. At this point, you should discuss family financial resources, any savings that you may have, any loans that you're considering to go through college, and what that means to the student and parents after college. It's also important to not just look at the individual student, but to look at how many children are in a family and what that means for the family over the course of the college for each student. The most important thing at the end of your junior year is you want to start preparing for the busy timeline of college prep for your senior year. At this point, please contact Capcom, and you can speak with one of the college specialists at Capcom, and we can definitely help you through this process, keep you on track during the end of your junior year into your senior year. In the senior year of high school, I generally talk to my students and parents at least 6 times before they start college.
Okay.
In the senior year, what you want to at this point do is finalize the college application list of colleges that you're interested to apply for attendance. You start by preparing the common application with colleges you will apply to. The common application is also known as a common app. Okay. That common app is always available after August 1st of the year prior to your senior year. So about a month before you start high school, and you can sign into that app. You want to stay on track with your courses. Make sure your grades stay where you have had them throughout your high school, or increase your GPA. And you want to make sure that you are still involved in your extracurricular activities. That's a very important thing for colleges to look at as they are taking a look at your application and comparing students that have applied to college. They want to see what else you have brought to the table besides your grades. At this point, you want to complete your college essay by the end of October. You should schedule SAT, ACT, and SAT subject tests if you haven't already taken them. If you have taken them, you can take them more than once to increase your scores, and most of the students I have worked with have taken the test at least twice.
I took the test twice. Yep.
You want to ask for letters of recommendations from your teachers or coaches. Generally, colleges want to see 2 letters of recommendation. You don't need to have more than 3, though. So choose your letters of recommendations from your teachers wisely. If you're going into math and science, you definitely want math and science teachers to write that. If you're going into English history, definitely those teachers, the computer or IT teacher. You want to talk to coaches if you are going to play a sport, or a music teacher if you're going to pursue music in college.
Hey, Kim, does it have to be from a teacher? Like, in other words, if you said 2 or 3, would you suggest 2 from teachers and then 1 from someone in the community or somewhere and something else? How does that look?
The letters of recommendation are always from the school, so it should be two from teachers. And then if you have a extracurricular activity at that school, you would ask for that teacher or the person that is the head of that extracurricular activity to write that. For students that are pursuing sports and are going to play on a sports team, definitely a coach. For students that are pursuing art, you would want to speak with an art teacher. For students that are pursuing music, again, a music teacher. So you're always choosing 2 teachers for coursework. A third letter can come from a coach, a music teacher, or an art teacher if that is the career field that you intend to explore after college.
Okay. All right. So I couldn't get like my uncle to write me one. That doesn't fly too well.
That's
for college.
correct.
Okay. All right.
They really want to know what from the teachers that you have worked with or the coaches you have worked with. What there is something different that that teacher and or coach for your extracurricular activities is going to share about you.
Okay.
It's also important to keep track of deadlines. Your senior year, it's one deadline after another that you have to keep track of. You want to make sure that as you are keeping track of those deadlines, especially if you're going to apply early to college, which is early action or early decision, and I'll discuss that in a minute, that you are finishing everything, whether it's your teacher's recommendations, your college essay, anything that needs to be added to the transcript that is going to be transferred to the Common App by the end of October, because the first deadline for an early application is November 1st. The last deadline for an early application to college is usually December 1st. After October 1st of the year that you're a senior in high school, you can start to prepare the FAFSA and TAP applications, which are financial aid applications, but you would not send them in until the student has applied and completed the Common App for their colleges.
Okay. Now I know you said you're going to talk about early action and you know those early applications. Would that apply for those? Like, do you use the Common App for those, or that's a whole nother thing? Okay. Sorry, I jumped ahead.
No, that's not a problem. It's a great question. The Common App is actually the application, and that's why it's called the Common Application or Common App. It's the application that, by and large, is accepted by almost all colleges. There are some colleges, there are a handful of colleges that don't accept the Common App, and I actually don't have a list of those colleges because it switches every year. You will be able to know whether your college accepts the Common App because there's a drop-down box on it. So as I'm saying, finalize your college application list. You want to make sure when you have finalized that list that you are on the Common App, you're in the drop-down, and choose that college. If you don't see the college on the Common App, at that point, you would want to go into your college's website directly and apply through the college's website.
Okay.
After you have completed the Common App and then submitted it and also prepared your FAFSA and TAP applications and submitted it, you want to then assess your application for early action, early decision, or regular or rolling decision. The difference between early action and early decision is it's early. You are applying prior to regular decision, which is usually January 15th. The early action and early decision applications are sent by the deadlines of November 1st, November 15th, or December 1st. I've always told my students, don't get caught up in the deadline. Do not, when you are submitting the early applications, add the colleges in and then take them out and keep submitting that Common App. You want to get everything on the Common App, even the colleges that you're not going to apply to early, by an early deadline of November 1st. Just look at it as November 1st because that's a deadline. You don't want to miss it if the college is indeed November 1st. It will save a lot of work for you to have that application done in October, and once it's done and your teacher's recommendations are included and your essay is included and your transcript has been completed and attached to the Common App, hit the submit button to all colleges. Just because you've applied early doesn't mean that you have to worry then about a college that doesn't accept an early application for an early decision or early action.
Oh, okay. That doesn't matter. You can just still submit it.
Correct. Submit it.
Okay. All right.
So after you have applied for college, you want to submit your financial aid forms at the same time, which is the FAFSA and TAP applications. Once you have applied to colleges, your colleges will start to respond to you, especially if you've applied early action or early decision. There's also colleges that are called rolling decision. What rolling decision means is that as the college receives the application, they're going to decide on it, usually within 3 weeks. All of the applications, when that Common App is sent into all of the colleges have 3 choices as they're looking at the application. They can choose to accept the student, they can choose to decline the student, or they can put the student on a waiting list. And the college will notify you which of those 3 that they have chosen to do. If they've accepted you, they will produce a financial aid letter, and those financial aid letters are part of what our expertise is at Capcom as college funding specialists. We can look at every college financial aid letter, make comparisons between the colleges, tell you what you should be looking at on that financial aid letter, and what you can do to go back and speak to the school about increasing merit aid or grant aid, which is free money to attend college. And then after we have reviewed that, you would want to complete your enrollment requirements for the College of Attendance. Once you choose your College of Attendance, you want to complete those enrollment requirements.
Okay, so one thing that I took a note to ask about, you mentioned essay, like a personal essay in there,
Yes.
right? I believe they still do that. What about interviews? Are colleges doing interviews with kids nowadays?
The colleges will invite you for an interview if they are going to look at your application further. I would say by and large, most colleges are not doing interviews any longer. The reason for that is they're receiving so many applications. As an example, SUNY Albany last year got over 30,000 applications for incoming freshmen.
Jeez.
I know. And if you are looking at an Ivy League college, you probably are going to get interviewed. So an Ivy League college is more selective. It's harder to get into. They tend to do interviews for the Ivy League college, but it's actually the alumni that are interviewing or pre-interviewing for the Ivy League colleges from what I have seen in the last few years. So you can't ask for an interview. What you can ask for is a visit to go to the school, which is very important that you do that. When you're asking for a visit, I'm not a big believer in going to open houses, because the open house, you're going to be with hundreds, if not thousands, of students as you're attending that open house. I've always recommended to my students to schedule an individual visit to the college. At that individual visit, you can ask to meet with the department head of the major that you are going to pursue. You can also ask to meet with an upperclassman, usually a junior or a senior. They can give you invaluable information because they're studying the same major that you are, especially seniors. They're getting ready to graduate within a year. They are actually in a different place than a freshman is, and they are actually going to share with you what they're going to do to continue on. Are they going to graduate? What are they looking for careers, or are they going to go on to grad school?
Mm-hmm. Okay. See, that's really good advice right there. I mean, I could imagine, like, you're right, because when you go on one of those group things, you're just in one member of the group, right? You don't
You're
really
one member of the group, right?
Let's continue along the lines of this paying for college, because I think a lot of
Sure.
people get stuck on that. So, how do people do it, right? I mean, people are going to college, people are doing it, right? And I was reading on one of Capcom's blogs, I believe, is saying that college went up something like 8 times over since the 80s. So it's just going up. So where do you start with when people say to you, Kim, how am I going to pay for this? What are the different ways, and what does that look like?
So an important part of applying to college is understanding the affordability for the student. It's also understanding the difference between tuition and all-in costs.
Right.
Tuition is quoted as something differently than tuition. Then there's fees and there's room and board. Your all-in costs are sometimes quite expensive. Room and board runs anywhere between the colleges between $15,000 to $25,000 a year. So that's something that you want to pay attention to. The types of financial aid that the students qualify for, that they're looking to offset the cost of college, are scholarships. They're called merit scholarships, and merit can be based on academics or a specialized skill in sports, music, or art. Grants, which are needs-based, and that's based on the information in the FAFSA and TAP application. Work study, also needs-based. And federal student loans. And federal student loans are limited. It's what we used to know as Stafford loans.
Yep.
Annually, a student qualifies for a different amount. The first year, the freshman year, they qualify for $5,500 in federal student loans, the student themselves. Second year, $6,500. In the third and fourth years, junior and senior, $7,500 each year. So that's a limited amount that the government is going to back in student loans, and those student loans have to be paid back when you're out of school. So then the expected family contribution comes into play, and that's where the family has to assess, how are we paying for this? Have we saved for college? Are we going to use a home equity line of credit or loan to pay for college? Are we going to do private student loans to pay for college? And then the assessment comes in as to what the repayment is for those loans after the student is out of college.
Okay. What about, I hear about is it the 529, like those plans,
Yes.
right? Can you tell us a little bit about that? I know, you're supposed to start those early. So what is that and what is the benefit?
Yeah, a 529 plan is basically a savings plan for college, and it's open through the New York State Higher Education Services. So it's a New York State 529 plan. The best thing you can do is actually talk to your personal accountant to see what that means to you for your tax savings or tax basis.
Okay. All right. And I'm sure you've seen this, right? Where you have a student who is just set on this one school, right? Like, this is the college. I'm going here if I get in. And then, of course, they get in and they don't get as much financial aid, or the financial package isn't as good. And then where there are other schools they got into which got much better. And so financially, it would make more sense to go to school Y and Z compared to X. But the student really, really wants to go to X. So at that point, is it just a personal financial decision purely that's being made there? Like, just
Yes, at that
knowing your
point,
risk, knowing your debt load?
It is. This is where the family conversation comes in with the college funding specialist to say, this is what the cost of college is compared to the college that may be more reasonable because you got more financial aid, or the one that's more expensive. You're not going to make more money in your career as you start depending upon your college degree. So you now have to assess, is the college your dream college, or are you looking at your dream career and your dream life? So that 4 years after, those quick 4 years after you finish college, are you setting yourself up to be in a good position to get your own apartment, live where you want to live, and work where you want to work? Mm-hmm. And as a result, are able to move then. If not, then I've told 22-year-olds many, many times, I think that the best thing is to move back home and start to pay back off some of that college debt so that you are able to then go into your career field where you are then able to move and live where you want to live.
Okay. So actually, Kim, so you're saying 22, you continue to interact with these students throughout the whole college process, huh?
I interact with them throughout the college process and actually into their careers. Generally, when they have, I usually start meeting with students when they're 15 or 16. I've been doing this for 12 years now. So my 18-year-olds, 12 years ago, are now 30. And I meet with them and talk to them regularly. So I help them through their life stages process as they're going through college, perhaps maybe grad school, or even into PhD or med school for doctors. And then I help them when they are out of school with what they need to do to consolidate their student loan debt as they're saving for their next major purchase, which is usually their car, then their home.
Wow. I mean, it's really, really an incredible resource to have somebody who is going to be there at all stages of this, because I think what we've touched on here is that this is a very complicated process and a major decision in many ways, right? Obviously financially, but it sets up your whole life.
It is. It's a major decision.
So it's important to have as much input. You're going to get input from the guidance, from your guidance counselor, from your school, but it's really important to get that other input and advice from someone that has seen it and really doesn't hold any bias. They're there really just to help and to really just lend their knowledge. So this is really great. I didn't know that this whole this was available at Capcom, so this is really great. I think we should, close here for the sake of time. This is it's a really intricate process. It's very complicated, and Capcom has this incredible resource that guides you apparently, and I did not know this, from the beginning all the way through, even to when you are done with college and out there trying to pay off your student debt. So you should really make sure you check that out and find out more information. So let me just close by saying that Capcom is insured by NCUA, and everybody who's listening, make sure you visit www.capcomfcu.org/collegebound. So that's the Capcom website /collegebound for more resources and links to make an appointment. This has been really great, Kim. Thank you so much for taking some time to educate me and everyone out there about this process.
Thank you, Chris, very much.